to the Silverthorne Pulse. I'm Kim Jardim with the town of Silverthorne, and Town Manager Ryan Highland and I are here today to recap the October 25th, 2023 work session and town council meeting. So Ryan, let's get started with work session first. The Summit County Housing Needs Assessment Study is complete, and there were some findings in there that were shared with everyone at work session.
Yeah, the Root Policy Group has been working, doing a lot of work in the county with the Summit County Housing Authority, which was kind of the lead agency on this update. And so they have been going around to all the different jurisdictions and sharing the findings out of that assessment. I think, you know, we look countywide, obviously, at the community need for housing, and it's, you know, ever present. And then we also look as individual agencies about what we're doing. And so I think some conversation about the position that Silverthorne's in. I think we're really happy with 214 units at the Smith Ranch ownership product. The last one of those units out of that whole project construction was just closed on in October this month. So that's great. Then looking at what else we need, 135 units that are under construction, very visible at the Smith Ranch right now. And so conversations about trying to meet all of those needs, rental, ownership, and then within both those categories, broad spectrum of AMIs. So I think when you're talking about rental and ownership, we're spanning from 30% AMI all the way up to, on the ownership side, 130%. So it's just a study that will help, I think, our council when we're looking forward at different opportunities, figure out what, there's always a need in every one of those categories, but what is the, what's the policy direction and who are we trying to help the most, frankly. So some conversations historically with council about is it transient work or is it folks who are maybe going to have a longer presence in the community. Housing's needed for both, but what might be most important to Silverthorne? And the study just kind of further moves that conversation along. So lots more to come, but that was a presentation by the Root Policy Group. I think universally, everyone in the county has been really pleased with the work that they put in there and a really valuable work product. So
it's a really significant topic in our community
that it's huge.
Will continue to be.
Yep, forever.
So moving on to 2024, we actually have some ballot language that we're working on in 2024. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Yeah, council's had some conversation at their council retreat a month or so ago, and that led to some more conversations and work sessions about the opportunity to run a ballot question in April. And so council has been moving in that direction, and they looked at some draft language for that ballot in the work session. They will come back at future meetings to formalize that. There's a process of approving formally at meetings to get things on the ballot. But what they're talking about is the opportunity to ask voters if they would add 2% on top of the current 6% lodging tax, with the main focus being it would take about 20 years to pay for rec center expansion and a new police facility. And so 2 years ago in April, the voters had approved an increase in the lodging tax. When we're looking at the construction costs today to build those projects, need a little bit more horsepower in that lodging, and so asking the voters in April if they would support that is something we're working towards. And again, there will be more on that at future meetings for that April election. The other thing that council's interested in asking the voters, which Dylan did in I think the last election, we have the 5A dollars. We were just talking about housing, and just a cash flow issue. 5A is going to provide a lot of funding in the coming years, but if we get a couple of projects hitting at once, we may need to you know, kind of use the credit card, if you will. And so asking the voters if we can leverage that revenue stream to borrow up front. So hopefully that would be supported and be very helpful if we have a number of those projects. So those two items are being contemplated in draft language about those two items. So more to come. Excellent. And in other reports and updates, there were some items related to CDOT as well as to sustainability.
Yeah, we had a conversation with the council about there is a advisory committee that CDOT has pulled together. That was the impetus for that was some legislation in the last session, and they're looking at the transportation planning regions, if you will, and trying to make sure a couple of things, that they are all consistent in the approaches to posting agendas and minutes and just getting uniformity. It was a little bit loose there, so that's great. But then also looking at making sure you have parity in the size and the scope, if you will, of the different transportation planning regions. And we are in we call it the IMTPR, Intermountain Transportation Planning Region. And conversations there about splitting that region into two pieces so that there's more parity when you're thinking about vehicle miles traveled and population and all of those things. So I should mention Commissioner Pogue is a representative serving for our county on that committee and has been leading a lot of those conversations. And Silverthorne and I think the other municipalities in the region are supportive of making that split. So that's the conversation that's going on there, and I think they're compelled by the legislation to get back with a decision on that pretty quickly. So that was a conversation with the council, and we'll see if that moves forward.
Great.
You mentioned sustainability. We do have we have a new sustainability coordinator that's been on board this year, and we have a request for proposal out for firms to help us come up with a Silverthorne-specific sustainability plan. We've received a couple of responses to that, and so we're reviewing those, and that will be a plan that will be undertaken and completed in 2024.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
We did have a couple other miscellaneous just reports from council. We have council members attending the Association of Ski Towns meeting. Mountain Towns 2030 was in Vail, and everybody in the county, lots of electeds and managers were there. Great conference. And thanks to our mayor for attending a DOLA session where we're seeking a grant, and so need to make a little presentation, and she referenced that. So I think that was about it for work session.
Great, and just a clarification, Mountain Towns 2030 was a sustainability-related and
Yes.
climate-related conference.
Yeah, yeah. Relatively newer. It's only been held a couple of times, and yeah, great conference. The president of Patagonia was there and spoke, as was Governor Inslee from Washington, and then just a couple dozen sessions over a couple days.
It was stalled out, I recall, with COVID, but it's back in full force now.
Yeah, stalled out like everything in COVID.
So, okay, jumping into the regular town council meeting, we had some public comment related to parking on 3rd Street.
Yeah, and we've talked about parking before, and also at the council retreat that was a topic. This particular request is for some 30-minute parking in front of Bluebird Market. That makes sense, but I think the council and staff are interested in a comprehensive conversation about parking management in the downtown. And so, there was some discussion at the work session as well about making sure we're directing people to the parking garage, because I think a lot of people still don't understand that that is there and that it's free and it's public parking. The other thing that just opened last week, the work on 3rd Street between Adams and Bryan is complete, and so there are 35 new spots, very convenient to Bluebird Market and just for the whole downtown. So happy to have those open. We went from 0 spots to 35 on that block. So parking in the downtown, we joke we're really happy to be having those conversations because it means we have a downtown now, and when you have a downtown, you get to talk about parking. So appreciate that public comment on that one.
Excellent. Under consent calendar, we had a couple of routine land use items, resolutions just related to private development.
Yeah, one for residential at 4th Street Crossing, and then one on Angler Mountain Vistas. So housekeeping paperwork, if you will.
Right. Under public hearings, there's an ordinance to amend the town code with regards to workforce housing.
Yeah, the effort there, this was the second reading, no changes from first reading, just trying to get all of the municipalities to have the same ability and same regulation and enforcement abilities when we're looking at deed restrictions and the annual process of submitting the affidavits that everyone does saying, yep, I'm working 30 hours or more in the county and I'm meeting all the rules. And if they're not, then these regulations now allow for enforcement mechanisms, and those enforcement mechanisms are consistent from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So again, back to workforce housing.
Right, absolutely. And it was a quick meeting, so I think that was about it for October 25th. We do want to remind everyone that First Friday is coming up, the November 1st Friday. That is Dia de los Muertos celebration, and it's actually occurring at Bluebird Market. Yeah,
the Summit Assembly, I guess, is the event venue within the Bluebird Market. Folks aren't familiar with that name, but I think, did you say earlier 5:30 to 8:30?
I hadn't said, but it is 5:30 to 8:30.
All right. So yeah, hope to see everybody there. Great community events, great way to keep that sense of community getting together at First Fridays.
Absolutely. So that's all from us. We will see you next time.